It is roughly 4,500 years ago. You walk into an ancient city wearing sneakers, pull out a flashlight, create fire with one click, and play music from a phone with no musicians inside it. A priest stares. A child screams. A guard lowers his spear and quietly rethinks his career choices. You have medicine, maps, a camera, and enough science to predict an eclipse. So would ancient humans think you were a god? Or just a suspicious traveler with excellent accessories? Probably not for long. Ancient people were not confused, children waiting to worship the first person with a bright screen. They had complex ideas about gods, spirits, kings, magicians, foreigners, and frauds. Something amazing did not automatically mean divine. Sometimes it just meant dangerous. Start with Old Kingdom Egypt, a civilization that treated religion, government, and architecture like one enormous group project. Around 2458 to 2446 BCA, a statue of King Sahur showed him beside a god offering him the Ankh, the symbol of life. Egyptian kings were linked with Horus while living and Osiris after death, but everyone knew the king could still grow old and die. Divine status depended on ritual, symbols, temples, priests, and your official place in the cosmic order. Now imagine arriving with a flashlight. The crowd might gasp when you create light without oil or flame. Then you produce a lighter. Click, fire appears. Very dramatic. Unfortunately, 5 minutes later, an Egyptian craftsperson would want to examine it, and an official would probably confiscate it for the stability of the kingdom. Ancient Egypt respected miracles. It respected paperwork even more. Your phone would impress them too. Moving faces, recorded voices, music from nowhere. But you would have no temple, sacred animal, royal title, or priesthood explaining why everyone should obey you. Priests might call you a foreign magician or someone protected by an unknown god. The king might want your objects. And if your battery died while you claimed unlimited divine power, your new religion would suffer a very early public relations crisis. Next comes Akkad, where Naram-Sin ruled around 2254 to 2218 BCA and apparently looked at being king and thought, good start, but what about God? His victory stele shows him towering over enemies in a horned helmet, a symbol linked with divinity. In inscriptions, he was called the God of Akkad, that tells us humans could be treated as gods, but not simply because they owned strange tools. Naram-Sin had armies, victories, monuments, scribes, and an entire political system repeating the message. He did not walk into town with a flashlight and hope for the best. Still, your arrival could cause chaos. Show an Akkadian ruler a video of himself, and he sees his own face speaking inside a black object. A trapped spirit? A divine mirror? The world's first terrible selfie? Yes, it is. Then you give someone antibiotics, and an infected wound begins to improve. That would be far more powerful than playing music. Healing could make you look blessed, magical, or connected to a deity, but it would also make you valuable. And being valuable to an ancient palace was not always relaxing. You might receive fine food, or be locked in a guarded room until you explained how to make more medicine. Could you become a god in Akkad? Possibly, if a ruler found your image useful, priests accepted your story, and scribes wrote it down. But one failed cure or one moment when you burned your hand on your own lighter could ruin the brand. Now jump much later to the Mexican Empire in 1519. This is not ancient in the strict sense, but it gives us something ancient history rarely can. A real meeting between a powerful civilization and outsiders carrying unfamiliar ships, steel, horses, and firearms. On November 8th, 1519, Moctezuma met Hernán Cortés at the entrance to Tenochtitlan. A famous story claims Moctezuma believed Cortés was the returning god Quetzalcoatl. It is dramatic, cinematic, and extremely convenient for the conquerors. Modern historians, however, find no solid evidence that Moctezuma simply mistook Cortés for a god. Moctezuma was a ruler, not a background character waiting to misunderstand the plot. He gathered information, negotiated, watched, and calculated. The Mexica could see that the Spaniards had unusual weapons, but unusual weapons did not make them immortal. They ate. They slept. They argued. They bled. That is probably what would happen to you. At first, a flashlight might look like captured sunlight. A speaker might sound like invisible spirits. A camera might seem to trap a face, creating a conversation you really do not want to have without a translator. But ancient people would test you. Can you be injured? Do you need food? Why do you panic when your phone says 1%? Why does the god of lightning keep asking for a wall socket? Here's the modern contrast. Apple introduced the first iPhone in January 2007. The object most likely to make you look supernatural is younger than many adults watching this video, and without electricity, it becomes an expensive black rectangle. So would ancient humans think modern people were gods? Some might, briefly. Others might call us magicians, healers, spies, messengers, or dangerous fools. Technology could create awe, but awe would fade as soon as people watched us closely. Beneath the flashlight, medicine, phone, and scientific knowledge, we would still get hungry. We would still feel fear. We would still make mistakes. And ancient humans were observant enough to notice. You might arrive looking like a god. By sunset, you would probably be explaining why your sacred glowing brick needs a charger.